Um, Thank you for staying. If you'll all settle down, we'll bring Miss Simon out and the director and Jane Irwin Hammett. And who else do we have? The costume designer, Aubrey Berman. Come on out, ladies and gentlemen. Come. Let's put you in the... And some cast people. Why don't some folks come on down on this side? All righty. So we have our Dickon, David Neufeld. Our Lily, of course, Jennifer Ashworth, who has opted for the same look as have I. Good for you. Emma McNary, who is Mrs. Shelley and one of the Dreamers. Douglas Mandel, the fakir. And the conductor just sort of came and went. I guess he had second thoughts. The gentleman in black is the scenic designer, Jean-François Revon. The lady in black is the costume designer, Aubrey Berman. And of course, the lady in black with the lovely scarf is the composer, Lucy Simon. Yay! There's Brett. Brett Strader, our conductor, has joined us. Will Jamona, Dr. Craven Neville. And who's that down there? Molly Ann, why don't you come down here, Molly? There's another chair. Greg Marks. Wow, wait, you guys are fast. And of course, our wonderful Colin and Mary. Jack Gorlin and Laura Sanders, and our equally wonderful Colin and Mary, Tovey. My brain has just completely flipped. Tovey Wayne, thank you, and Katie Corbis. Oh boy, Shelley Johnson, Stuart Rosenthal. Everybody wants to do this. Lexi Pepito. Let's start out by asking Miss Simon. I'm getting lost here. Wow. We didn't expect so many people to come. Can you tell us something about the genesis of this show? I reread the book recently, and I thought, wow, this is not... I would not read this and think, this has got to be a show. You know, it's not inherently that dramatic a book to me. Maybe I'm just silly. But whose brilliant idea was this? Because it certainly is a beautiful and wonderful piece of musical theater.
Well, before I answer that question, I just want to thank the Lamplighters for the most beautiful production. It just gave me so much pleasure. You know, so much love and attention went into the writing and the development of it. And to see it now, 15, 17 years later, whenever, performed with such love and understanding and integrity, and it made me weep. I thank you all, every one of you, from the actors to the producers and the staff and the workers and everybody. Thank you so much. And thank you for inviting me here. It's just a great pleasure for me. All right, now I'll get on to the question. The book is wonderful, and I read it as a child, and I read it to my daughter, and then I started thinking about it, about how, because things sing to me. If things are going to be, if I'm going to be able to work on them, I have to know how they sound. So I sort of knew how that would sound. Now, this isn't telling you the question you asked, how do you dramatize it, but I'm going to tell you how I got interested in it. I was interested in the sound of it, and it was Marcia Norman, the book writer, and Heidi Landesman, the producer and the set designer, who started working on it. And they didn't know who the composer would be. They didn't know how it should sound. And they started auditioning lots of different composers. And they got things, and then they came to me. And I looked through the script as it was, the first draft, which is so different than what you saw tonight. But there was one lyric, and I said, I can show them how that should sound. And I went, I heard someone crying, who though could it be? And that's how it went. And I said, this is how this show should go. And they said, that's right. And I said, it has a Yorkshire, we have to do it with Yorkshire instrumentation, and it has to feel like it comes from the earth. Because in fact, that's the importance of the show, is the healing quality of the earth and the bringing back to life after a great loss. That's what the show is about. And we say, how do you dramatize that? I don't know. It came out of the soil of the creative team. And the tricky part of this, of dramatizing this book, I don't know how many of you have read it, is the middle section. Nothing happens in the middle section. So we, as you probably noticed, we really built up the story of the adults, of Lily. Lily is barely in that book at all. But Lily is the important person who is the impetus behind Mary's discovery of the key and discovery of the garden and helping Colin to become well and bringing Archie back in. So Mary is really the important person that makes it happen, but Lily is the strength behind it. And I think, and I said to Jane, the thing that I loved about this production is that became very clear. You really saw Lily guiding Mary to find the key and to find the door, and to, it was just lovely, really beautiful, and I really congratulate the way Jane has done this and conceived it, and everybody else has done this. Have I answered your question?
All right. Are there any questions from the audience? Anything that anyone would like to ask Ms. Simon, or indeed anyone else standing up? Yes.
I could hear in the audience nipple.
No.
And so the production, the way it was put together was hitting that nerve. I guess I wondered, since it was on Broadway, whether that same kind of impact, these people, as you said, their heart and soul into it, they love what they do and it comes out so real. Did it do the same as on Broadway?
I think there is a magic, as there is a magic in the garden that happens to Dick in this piece. And everybody that works on it has that response, and they put their heart and their soul into it. And I think, like this young woman who spoke, it just gives me so much pleasure to hear that. And so many people have said to me this is their favorite musical, and so many people who are doing it now. And and we expect to have a revival soon in New York. And last year we had a benefit performance, and it was the people who are the major people, the young people on Broadway, have said it was this musical that brought them into the world of being actors. So I am so grateful that this musical came to me. It came to me as a gift, and I've said this a lot. Some of these songs, like Lily's Eyes, it just came through me, and I think that there are other composers will say that about the best of their work. They're just lucky to have received it. And I feel very lucky that I received it, and I feel so lucky that I was able to give it back to the world, and that it's been so beautifully received. And I would say that people who perform this get it. It's just part of the experience of being in the company of a secret garden. You become a gardener for life.
Yes, back there.
There's a certain operatic quality to the music, the trios and the quartet, where all the characters are not singing.
My musical background was not academic. It was not conservatory. I have two sisters, so the three of us sang together from the time we were very little, and we would sing. We would just sing what came into our mind. You need some more lipstick, Carly. What put on your, no, I mean, it was just, we sang to each other. It was like opera. And so, you know, sometimes we would be singing at the same time, and we would try to, you know, to harmonize, to try to make it work. And so that was my training. It was, you know, it was singing. It was, there was always music. And when I do write these quartets and trios, I do it on a multi-track tape recorder. I'll sing one part, and I'll sing then the next part, and I have to try it out with my voice. My main instrument of writing is my voice. So what has happened to me over the course of the years, I used to be sort of a soprano, and I had to really go down deep so that I could sing the male parts too. So it all comes from sort of like, you know, like when all I need is there in the garden, all I would ask. I just do them all, you know. So that's sort of how I do it. Yeah, I don't write it out. It happens.
Yes, Matt.
How long did it take to write all the music, and did you do the orchestration yourself?
I didn't do the orchestration, nor could I. The most extraordinary man, William Brown, did the orchestrations. And we worked together on them, you know. I mean, he knew exactly what I wanted, and he could translate into the orchestra my musical inspiration. And there's somebody even before Bill Brown came in, and that was Michael Kozerin, who is the music director and the arranger. So you know, it goes from the composer, and then it goes to an arranger, and then it goes to the orchestrator, and then it goes to the singers. So it's not just me really that writes it, it's just everybody, and it continues to grow and be written, you know, over and over again when it's performed.
I don't have a question so much as I'd like to say, Simon, on behalf of the musicians and audiences who appreciate music, thank you for letting the Lamplighters put the acoustic players back in the pit and disregard the synthesizers.
Well, I have to say this, that the Lamplighters are the first production company to ask for the original orchestration. So I am very grateful that they did, and that we were able to provide them, and that they were played so beautifully. Oh, all right. Well, thank you.
First of all, I'd like to say I was playing the synthesizer all night. And second, I would like to ask Ms. Simon, could you please give us a progress report on Zhivago?
Zhivago is my next musical, and it's one that I have been working on for God only knows how many years. It was developed in La Jolla, at the La Jolla Playhouse. Des McAnuff is directing it, and we have just had a hard time because of theater availability. There are just no theaters. And also Des has had this huge hit on Jersey Boys. So to get the theater the window of time that Des is available and a theater becomes available, we are hoping and praying that it will all work out in the next September, October, November in London. That's what we're planning on. And I hope it'll come here, and I hope the Lamplighters will do it sometime. And listen, if it never gets done on the West End or Broadway, I trust you to take it over and do a production.
Yes,
I've loved this book for years, and I saw the production on Broadway, and the Yorkshire, I just had a nephew visiting from the Yorkshire, so I congratulate you on your Yorkshire accent.
They did great.
The heart.
is Dawn Elam still in the house? I like to go, and she was fabulous.
It's the heart that went into this, because my friend bought the tickets, and I said, well, I saw this on Broadway, she was disappointed. And I said, no, I think it's good, it's good. This was great. Much better than my experience in New York.
Oh, I'm so glad.
One more, Denise.
Yes, first off, bravo to
you know, it was, we were doing this for a Broadway production. We were not doing children's theater as such. So we had to build up the adult story, which we made up, but we didn't really make it up because it's between the lines. Yeah, I mean, it's, as I said, Lily is barely in the book at all, and she then becomes the central character.
That's the interesting book.
Yeah, it is. It's absolutely true. And because I so identify with Lily and the maternal part of it, it was very important to me, and she spoke for me. And I got to say, this lovely lady just sang it magnificently. And did you notice that she didn't take a breath between the "come to my garden, come sweet child"? No breath there. Wow. I can't. I never could do it.
Got me the part in the first place.
One more question, then we must wrap up. Yes, sir.
Just comment on the scenery. We go to the LA Opera and it is so stark. It is so it's a bare stage almost for so many of their productions. And this was just lavish with all of the scenery that kept changing and changing.
Well, maybe Jane and Jean-François can speak to that just for a moment. Jean-François designed, but of course the director always has a great deal of input into, you know, what does the director want and what can the producer afford.
You know what, and David, just what we worked on was really the flow. You know, when you listen to the music, it's just so, you know, you can hear the wind, you can hear, you know, all those spirits, you know, traveling through, and that's really what Jay and I, you know, worked on when we were working on the scenery, is how we can make it flow. So the tracks were something new for Lamplighters, and we're very excited to be able to bring them in, you know, create all those changes. So that's you know, things moving up and down and sideways, just all that.
I just love all of the ladies that you had moving scenery.
I just want to say something about the spirits, the ghosts, because what you said in the New York thing. One of the things that you did, Jane, was that you really gave them such an important role, and they weren't in the way. I mean, we had a hell of a time in New York trying to say, you know, people would say, "Who are those people? Why are they? What are they doing there?" And actually, the only people that understood who the spirits were. It was very funny because, you know, kids would come with their parents, and you know, the parents would, "What is that?" And the kids would say, "Dummy, that's a ghost." You know? But Jane really put them there so that you understood that they were spirits, and they were so important to Mary and Mary's inner life, and you know, it was glorious.
It didn't just look like dead stagehands are cheaper than live stagehands. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Thank you for inviting me to this wonderful presentation. You know, I just came from New York yesterday to see this, so thank you all, and thank you for giving it such a wonderful reception, audience.